Well, thanks for joining us, folks. You know, when you hear that music, you are in for a treat because it's time for another episode of the Rec Poker Podcast, Forums Edition. I'd like to thank website AMP and Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino for their sponsorship and letting us make this show every week. And just like every week, we're here duking it out in the Rec Poker Nightly home game, trying to get one step closer to that Rec Poker pin. Just like every week, I'm your host, Bluff Sterini in the home game, Jim Reed to friends and family, and you, Rec Poker Nation. But I'm just one of many. I've got a couple other members here from Rec Poker to come talk poker strat with me because I've got the best job in the world. Fellas and gals, what is your handle and where can folks reach you?
I am John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN everywhere.
And I'm Kim Kilroy. I am Fergie56 on the home game and Pet Vet everywhere else.
Well, thanks for joining me this week, gang. I love talking poker strat with our Rec Poker Nation members, and this week is no exception. In fact, this week we're taking a look at a forum post by Eric Anderson, who is, like myself, a big fan of PokerTracker 4. Eric's a constant presence in the Rec Poker forums. He's always posting helpful reports and filters, ways for people to use PokerTracker to get the most out of it. Eric's been a part of our Saturday study group sessions where we use PokerTracker 4 to take a look at hand histories or database reviews for some of our premium members every month. And he has a post here saying that he likes the hand history reviews and he thinks everyone should do at least one. He learns a lot from them. And he also would like to do a session where we all contribute hands. And maybe like I could send out a filter and we could all take a look at hands that came up in that particular filter and come in and talk about that. Or we could talk about a specific spot where a sizing comes up, or a particular action or something, or we could take a look at something that happens in our monthly seminar group or in the focus and talk about how we might use PokerTracker to work on that. So I just thought it was a good thing to bring up on the show here, because a lot of our listeners might not know what PokerTracker is or how helpful it can be when you're studying. And it's just great that we've got all these different people that are learning from Rec Poker in different ways. So I'm probably the one that's done the most work with Rec Poker, with PokerTracker recently on this panel anyway. And it is kind of my go-to tool when I'm working with clients or when I'm trying to find leaks in myself to fix, or whether I'm trying to find leaks in opponents to exploit. PokerTracker is kind of my go-to place, my go-to tool and resource to try and find that kind of stuff out. And I've got my own ways of using it. I like to use HUDs. I use certain reports and filters. A lot of the stuff that just comes built into it is really handy. And you can do a lot with it. I guess, Kim, we recently, last week, you sent in your database of a little over 28,000 hands, just from hands played in the Rec Poker home game. And so one of the things we did was we took a look at that whole database of hands using some big picture tools, and tried vainly to find some ways to exploit you. And maybe we came up with a couple tips. You've been in the session before, but was there anything that sort of you thought, oh, I didn't expect to find that, or was there anything about how we used PokerTracker that made you that you were like surprised that we were able to find something out, or to shed some light on something in your own game?
Oh, I'm surprised to see the stats. You thought the stats were so good. Because I thought I had a lot more leaks than that. And I'm sure if we dug deeper, we'd find a lot more. I feel like we just touched the surface, but it was really good. So I think would be really good to share that knowledge and rotate it through some of the other premium members. But for people that maybe some of our premium members that don't use PokerTracker yet, where can they get PokerTracker? Do we have a cost of how much it is, or ballpark? Do you know of any videos that teach people how to sort of set up the basics of it? maybe some basic information like that for the people that don't have it yet out there.
Great.
It's a great tool for playing tournaments online if you're playing against, especially if you're playing against the same player pool. That's why I found my base with the home game very valuable, because I had a large number of hands with the same player pool.
Yes, and that's the other side of it that I didn't even mention, the heads-up display, the HUD that you can use in real time. When you develop a lot of hands-on players, you can sort of find streets where they get out of line, or spots where they're exploitable, or you can just make better assumptions about their ranges. And yeah, playing against regular players really gives you a chance to study up on them and break them down. And even if you're just playing in random games all the time, anonymous games, still developing that own database of your own hands is really the only way to look objectively at your own play, because none of us are reliable narrators when it comes to our own play. We all think we're better or worse than we are, I assure you. And just being able to look at the cold hard numbers objectively is a great way to just get a sense of where you actually do have room to improve. So Kim asked a couple great questions there. So right off the top right off the top, you can go to rec.poker/resources, and you'll find a link there that gets you PokerTracker for I think it's $100 just once, and then it's in your pocket for the rest of your life. If you do that from the Rec Poker page, I think we actually get a little thank you note from PokerTracker for sending you their way. So I'd love it if you did that. And then we have a bunch of resources at Rec Poker. If you go to rec.poker/gym, there's a couple videos there about getting set up. But honestly, you should really go to the YouTube channel Smart Poker Study, where Sky Matsuhashi has done so much great work with people getting started on PokerTracker. And he's really the man when it comes to filters and reports. And he has a lot of free stuff on the Smart Poker Study YouTube channel. Sky also has an excellent premium coaching program. If you go to, I think if you can get there from rec.poker resources as well. So go to rec.poker/resources and sign up for the Poker Forge. Sky really knows what he's talking about when it comes. He's more of an online player. Some of our players are more live focused, but he really knows what he's talking about there. And of course, I'm always available. Anyone can hit me up on Twitter or DM in the sites, or join the Saturday study group, and we'll talk about PokerTracker till the cows come home. Don't get me started.
We should probably just introduce the idea of what PokerTracker is first.
Good thinking.
So
Good thinking.
what PokerTracker does, most poker software will download your hand histories in a textual format. So that basically says player A chip was in first position, they bet with this chip stack, and this was their bet size, then player B folded, player C called, so forth and so on. And so it's as though you have perfect notes on all of the hands that you played. What PokerTracker does is then it takes those hand history, which are just text files written out, and it loads it into a database so that you can see all of the hands. It has all of the hands that a particular player had. So you can see they tend to raise first in about 30% of the time or 60% of the time. And then you can infer some of their play style from some of those numbers. And it'll also do what this post was more about, was it'll also record all of your hands, so that then you can go in and you can see, okay, I am opening under the gun with 2-3 offsuit 100% of the time. That might be a problem. And then you can stop doing that.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things about it that's really handy is you can actually go click. There's a heat map index where you can just click through it, hand by hand, combo by combo, and well, not quite combo by combo, but hand by hand. And you can tell in which circumstances are you winning money with that hand, and in which circumstances are you losing money with that hand. We did a PokerTracker review group recently. I don't remember the name of the member that was doing it, but it was something like 65,000 hands we had with this player. And over the lifetime of their hands, when they 3-bet with ace jack offsuit, they were making money. And when they called in position with ace jack offsuit, they were losing money. And it wasn't like, it's not, you can't argue with it. You just, it tells you over the life of the time that you've been playing poker with this program, it adds up all the hands where you called with ace jack offsuit in position, and it adds up all the money you've won and lost. And if it's a negative, guess what? You would be better off folding ace jack offsuit in position instead of calling, because calling it for the last 65,000 hands has lost you money. So that kind of insight can be really helpful, even if it just helps you like have faith in the concepts that you feel like you've already heard, like that you should be 3-betting more with these like suited connectors and stuff like that. Just seeing the math and seeing that, oh no, I'm actually, losing when I play this hand this way. Some of that stuff can be really handy.
One of the nice things about it is, in poker, you always talk about not being results oriented. So what that means is that because it's a hand, because poker is a game of probability distributions, the result of any given hand does not indicate whether or not that is a good play in a vacuum. When you take all of the input that you had available to yourself, is that play money making over time? What PokerTracker does is it allows you to group thousands of your hands together so you can see a significant occurrence of a situation, like Jim saying calling with ace jack offsuit. So then you can start to be results oriented once your database size gets big enough, because that's showing you what the actual you're approaching the actual equity to that move against the player pool that you play against. The only thing you have to be careful of is styles do change. So, over time, what was true when you began may not be true today.
Yeah, good point.
And you can filter it to just include your last 3 months or your last 6 months or your last year results and not lifetime. So that's another thing that I like about it, because it can, if you're really working on your game and you feel you've changed your game, then you can filter it to show those results from a more recent time period.
Yeah, the filters and reports are really where you can make it sing and dance. And I know, we're not going to get too far down the rabbit holes on this audio podcast, but anyone who's interested, go check out some of those free videos, or go join Rec Poker with the code Rec Poker and get your first month for only $5, and then hang out in some of these sessions that we do on Saturdays. Watch some of the old sessions, and you'll really get a sense of how sophisticated you can make it. One thing that John was talking about there, being results oriented in the right way, I wanted to come back to, because it really is a question of not having enough data. That's why we say don't be results oriented, because we don't have enough data. If you have enough data, you should be results oriented. I mean, that's how we keep track of whether we're actually doing well or not. One thing that PokerTracker does that's really handy, and other programs do this as well, is the all-in adjusted equity. And this is something I think one of our members, Doug, was talking about this in the last session we did, where instead of, let's say you only ever played one hand of poker, and you had pocket aces and someone else had pocket twos, and you got it all in pre-flop. Well, what's going to happen is, if you played 1,000,000 hands that way, 80% of the time aces would win, and 20% of the time pocket twos will win, roughly. If you just play one hand, either a 2 is going to come or it's not, or a 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to come or it's not. And so either the person that had the 2s is going to win all the pot, or the person that had aces is going to win the entire pot. What all-in adjusted equity does is it takes the equity at the time that the all-in bet was made and called, and it just distributes the pot according to who had the equity at that time. So if in this situation we're describing, it got all in pre-flop. So let's say each player had 100 big blinds. So there's a pot of 200 big blinds. Instead of giving those big blinds to the winner of the hand, it gives 80% of them to the player that had 80% of the equity, and it gives 20% to the player that had 20% of the equity, and then it just moves on. So it's basically saying like the run out doesn't matter. It's trying to account for variance. What this does is it says that at the time that the money was put in, let's just run it infinitely. You've heard about people running it 2 times or running it 3 times. We're just going to run it infinitely, and we're just going to sort of distribute it as though the long run played out here. So if you see people's graphs in PokerTracker, usually there's like a green line, which is their earnings, and then there's a yellow line, which is their all-in equity adjusted earnings. And you can tell literally, am I running better than I should or worse than I should? According to the law of averages, by whether your green line's above your yellow line or below it. So that's another great way where you kind of do need some results, but it's the right kind of results that you're going to be thinking about. Let's hear what Jonathan Little has to say, and then we'll come back and wrap this puppy up.
Have you ever wondered whether you should call a preflop raise or 3-bet instead? What do you do when you have a flush draw? Do you raise it or do you just call? What do you do with ace king when you miss the flop? Are you tired of guessing about what the right play is with your particular hand? Well, my name is Jonathan Little, and I am a 2-time World Poker Tour champion and creator of PokerCoaching.com, where we offer over 1,000 interactive hand quizzes where you play a hand and then get real-time feedback from our world-class pros. Don't guess and don't stress. Just register for your free account at PokerCoaching.com/recpoker right now.
There you go, folks. Check it out. I hope you do. Jonathan Little knows what he's talking about, and we're glad to be sharing his insight with the rest of Rec Poker Nation. So let me see. So we talked about all-in equity adjusted. We talked about taking on particular ways of looking at it. John, I know you're a programmer by trade. I've asked you before, like I've got PokerTracker on a couple different laptops, and sometimes it's hard for me to like get all the data together. And I know we've talked before about ways for people to kind of get the most out of it, even if they don't have PokerTracker, they can still like download hand histories and that kind of thing. I guess you already put this beautiful post in the forums about, I'm just going to talk about it. Sorry, I was going to push it to you. I'm just going to talk about it. John's got this great post in the forums that goes through how, without breaking any rules, you can get a VPN, download the appropriate software from PokerStars, and download your own hand histories. Even if you're not playing in real money games in the States, you can still completely legally and without violating any terms of service, arrange it so that you can download hand history files. That's what PokerTracker and other programs like this use to crunch the data to where they get their information from. But even if you don't have PokerTracker, I really do encourage you. Again, this is a free membership at rec.poker. So just go get the free membership so you can read John's forum post about that. And if you follow those steps, you can start downloading hand histories, even from our play money games in PokerStars. And honestly, folks, I am such a PokerTracker fan. If you just send me those hand histories, I'll just import them into my own database, and I'll just take a screenshot of what it looks like for you in a positional review or something. And it'll be easy for you to see, oh, are there any areas where I'm getting out of line, or, oh, isn't it interesting that I'm doing that at that frequency? I would have told you I was doing that much less or much more frequently, or stuff like that. So don't feel like you need to pony up the $100. I do think it's among the best $100 you'll spend in poker to get PokerTracker for life. But even if you're just dipping your toe in, just email me, jim@rec.poker, and send me some hand histories. And I'd be happy to just send you that snapshot and let you know if anything else comes up. Yeah, Kim?
Just for our listeners that are uncomfortable with the VPN and don't want to do that, on the PokerStars.net that most of the people have in the United States, can you save your hand histories to your hard drive?
No.
Okay.
That's why you have to have.
I know PokerStars won't send you a hand history, but you can't even save them to your hard drive.
No, it's not in the client.
Okay.
So that's why you have to download. It's just a different version of PokerStars. You want the PokerStars.com client that has the ability to save hand histories to the disk. Once you do that, if you think you might want PokerTracker in the future, but you're not ready to do it right now, go ahead and do that. Configure PokerStars to save your hand histories. And then by default, it only saves it for 30 days. But you can change that so that it will save them indefinitely. And these hand histories are just text files. They don't take up a lot of space. But so you could wait until you have 100,000 hands and then make the investment in PokerTracker if you decided you wanted to do that. You're also a PokerTracker license will authorize you to operate it on 2 different computers, and you can get your hands synchronized. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and you might need to be a little bit of technically inclined to do that. But I have both a desktop and a laptop, and I sync my hand histories there to both of them.
Cool. So there's definitely, if you have some savvy and some time, there's ways to figure out how to do it yourself. Or like we say, reach out to some of us at Rec Poker. You know, we all like to help people, but we all also, most of us have coaching hours available in the shop. And if you want to just spend some time one-on-one with me or John or Chris or Kim or Taylor, or I won't promise that for everybody, but there's lots of people here that you could just reserve some time really and go as deep as you want for as long as you want with some of this stuff. I mean, we all love doing it, and that's why we've chosen this way to get involved with the Rec Poker community. So I think if you go to rec.poker/crew, you'll find all sorts of folks there that would love to help out. I'm not the only one that knows what they're doing with PokerTracker 4. So, but reach out, let us know. We love helping, and this is just such a great tool that you'd be doing it yourself a disservice if you didn't. I think the one thing I want to, the last point of Eric's post here is just that he says there's just so much more than hand histories. And I think that's just so perfectly said, Eric. Eric Anderson, I hope you're listening, because this is just, you got right at the heart of it there. You know, we have all these different ways to study, all these different ways to think about poker, all these different ways to look at our own game. And, you know, hand histories are fun and we enjoy it. And it's that anecdotal experience of playing poker and making decisions in real time. But there are other ways of looking at your poker game and finding ways to improve. Sometimes it takes having someone else look at it. Or even just having an objective look at it yourself. And in order to do that, you're either going to need to have a program like PokerTracker, or you're going to have to make yourself vulnerable and share yourself with other people. And that's what we are all about here at Rec Poker. We shine the light on each other. We do it respectfully and with encouragement, but we don't hold back. You know, I was in a Kim Kilroy's hand history review a little while ago, and I thought I submitted this hand with this one glaring error that I was interested in talking about. And Kim pointed out to me that actually there's this whole other street where I should have made a very different decision that wasn't even on my mind. And if you go into these sessions thinking like, oh, I've played everything perfectly, I know what's wrong with me, you know, you're never going to learn. It takes people telling you what you're doing wrong. So be one of those people that finds errors as an opportunity to improve. PokerTracker is going to be great for that. We're going to find a lot of errors.
So did you just offer to tell everyone what's wrong with them? That's what I heard.
I think my wife would tell you that I've been offering that for years, John. All right. Well, I could go on about PokerTracker forever. So for the sake of our listeners, we should probably shut it up here. Does anyone else have anything they want to throw in? Or all right. Well, then without any further ado, thank you to John Somsky and Kim Kilroy for sticking with me today on the PokerTracker edition. And of course, I want to thank Website AMP and Running Aces, Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. See y'all later, Rec Poker Nation.